Hey, what's up YouTube, Scabadger here, and we're back on day 26 of our 100 player fan game series. So this little clip here is just a small part of what happened on day 26, and in fact this commentary, as you can probably tell, due to my use of the tenses, is recorded in post. So I'm just showing this clip here to show what happened to Italy's 15 subs, as I reference them basically in the next rest of the video. So anyway, this is how they went down. I deployed some destroyers, submarines, and I sunk them like this. So let's go on with the rest of the video, because I don't have long to talk. So if we have a look at the stats for the day 26 day change, I'm not sure if I've been over these already, but we are in 4th place on a pretty strong economy, considering how much bigger some of these players are, nearly double the size. It's impressive that we're not half the size, if you get what I mean. So proportionally, we're doing pretty good in terms of economics. So with that said, if we have a look in the index of coalitions, we can see that the Reapers, which is my coalition, is in first, followed by the Chicken Empire, then the Australasia Pact, or the Aussies as I like to refer to them. So what's been happening since the last episode is we successfully engaged the 15 subs that we were hunting up in around here. Basically what had happened is they split up. There was a group right here, and a group here, and I'm sure I did some recording of it, but we successfully engaged and sunk them, all 15 of them, and due to my own mistakes on my end, we lost one destroyer. So we could have easily have done it with no casualties, but because I kind of stuffed up a bit, our subs got a little damaged. And in the meantime, because this fleet's got to get all the way up into the Caribbean, I'm building a replacement destroyer up in Rome, which will then reinforce down here. It's a little hard to get destroyers to the other side of Africa when you're building them over here, so Rome is actually my closest port in the Mediterranean, so got to do with that. Actually, I think this one might have been closer, just by a bit. But I didn't want to turn on the level 3, well that's already on, let's turn that off. So that's what happened in terms of that naval battle that I was talking about in the last episode. And over here you can see that the large stack of AA is catching up and is about to walk into its own doom. King has been slowly following behind, like he said in the last episode, capturing up these territories and slowing it down even more. So as you can see, sending a stack of 36 has been completely ineffective. And that is just due to how King is playing it. King is not worried about losing territory, none of this is core. He can lose as much of it as he wants and it won't matter. He just needs to push them back. So what the smarter move would have been is to spread these troops out, maybe into 3 groups, because they need the anti-air protection, and then march forward and capture a lot of territory. Sending one group forward isn't too big of a deal, considering King is just going to continue to send his tanks forwards under the cover of anti-air. Instead of trying to march a group into the middle of enemy territory, you'd be better off trying to figure out a way to destroy enemy air. King's not going to attack that with his air force because he's just going to take too many casualties, so he's just waited until he can group up enough troops, and then he's going to engage it, which is happening right here. So how this is going to play out is, although Quebec has the bigger group, King's going to easily win this purely because he has infantry. So defending against, 7 against infantry, against this will be amazingly effective. Infantry is really good at fighting infantry, guys, and people forget that. So although he's going into this with a lot of anti-tank, it ain't going to matter too much because he's not going to be able to chew through those tanks in time for his tanks to have an effect against the infantry. So even then, with the support of the artillery, doesn't stand a chance. Considering there's reinforcements heading in as well, not a chance that Quebec's going to win that fight. He'd be better off retreating and running at this point. Down in the south of South America, we could see that King's still making progress, a little slower, kind of slowed down. He might be offline at the moment, I don't know. And he's just scouting out and destroying troops by patrolling over them. New England has been unable to reinforce the area, and it's going to cost him a lot. He has some anti-aircraft, but it's not going to be enough to stop the light tanks. So the problem is that wherever New England shows his aircraft guns, he doesn't have the protection of tanks, so King just sends his tanks in. But when New England shows his tanks, King Congo just sends in his aircraft. So it's important that New England really groups those together for maximum effectiveness. It's also worth noting that although we are doing pretty well in the region, King only has control of one industrial center, and I'm not quite sure where that is. So even then, it's hard to get reinforcements across, and King has decided that he's already got enough troops across, so he's going to call it there. Last night, after we finished dealing with the subs, we transferred control of our carriers to him, so he could ferry across 10 more aircraft. In terms of what's happening at the moment, we have to be careful because day change is about to hit within half an hour or 40 minutes. So before day change, we have to change the path of our ships, and this will throw New England and Quebec off. Obviously, they'll be expecting it, but they will never know where we're going. But for the time being, this is roughly the course I want to take. I'm going to head up into here and do some counter-submarine operations and just destroy their ability to fight a war at sea. Within the next week, I'm also going to have to capture the Caribbean, which all comes down to me. And doing that is just to allow us a place to use our aircraft and to get into Florida. This is a massive choke point up here, guys, and fighting up this could be a real pain in the ass, especially if your enemy has rockets and you can't outflank. So if we can get air superiority over this region, and with my carriers pressed right up against the land, I'm sure we can do it. We'll be able to easily land troops in, and then not have to worry about moving up through all these choke points, though we will do that at some point. It is possible that New England is maybe even trying to fortify this position, but I suspect he's more likely that he's just grouping troops. If we come up into the north, we can see that Finland is going on a rampage at the United Kingdom. Although he's lost all his core territory, he must have retreated all of his troops. Now I'm pretty sure this is not all of them. I remember there being 40 before. Maybe he split a few of them off. So what's happening at the moment is our ally is building up a fortification, and he's going to try hold it there, and when they walk down, he's going to capture it. Depending on what happens, considering most of our allies' forces are infantry, if this big group here does decide to go into Manchester, he'd be better off fighting in Manchester instead of the fortification. This is a very large armor group, and armor in cities is absolutely horrible, so if he engaged in combat there with his anti-tank guns, he'd be incredibly successful. In terms of what we're doing at the moment with our economy, like I said in the last episode, we're just upgrading. So if we have a look at what we're building at the moment, we can see we're building a lot of industrial complexes, some infrastructure, and quite a few fortifications. We just got a bit more oil, and that's enough to build another infrastructure. So yeah, if we have a look at what we're building quickly in terms of troops, you can see that we're still working on commandos and our navy, but our naval projects are starting to come to the end. So one more carrier and a few subs, and then we're done there for now. So like I was saying, time to spend some money on our economy. So let's build some infrastructure here. And we have iron left over, so let's increase morale in a lower territory down here. There we go. So as you guys can see by having a look at this, you can see that I'm building a lot more than I'm training. I'm training 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 troops. Yeah, I'm building probably 3 times the amount that I'm training. It's important that you stay on top of your economy if you want to continue to grow your army and all your other forces. If you have a weak economy, you'll have a weak army. Strong economy, strong army. Simple as that. So going forwards into the next day, I've got to rearrange my spies, and I have got to redeploy my ships, well, hide their course at least, so our enemy does not know where they're going, and then I'll be set for the next day of action. Once we cross over these submarines down here, we'll have to start scouting again and deploying our naval bombers, because once we cross over here, I don't know what's ahead, so that'll be happening pretty soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.